Hello, everybody. It's me, Shannon LaBruyere. I am live and loving it tonight. Welcome, welcome to Sunday Night Live, where we explore the principles that allow us to thrive and change. We can thrive in the change that we planned, but that's big, like moving or getting married or having children, big changes. And we can thrive in the big changes that come our way that we didn't ask for, things like the death of a loved one or a divorce or a health crisis. I'm here to tell you that no matter which side of that change spectrum you are on, you can, with the right principles, with the right tools, thrive in the midst of it. And by thriving, I don't mean that you're woo party person all the time. What I mean is that even when your season might be cold and wintry and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on, your roots can still be nourished. I'm here to help with that. I want to nourish your roots so that no matter what season you're in, you can thrive. And I'm grateful that you're joining me. I'm glad that you're here. Welcome. Tonight, our topic is habit number 3 from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That book was a life changer for me when I first learned about it. I mean, it wasn't too long after it came out. So it's been about 27, 28 years at least since I read that book. It had such a profound impact on me. It was the book that introduced me to this idea of principle based self leadership, not following the trends, not trying to force myself to do the right things. It was a book about how to be the right person to do the things that would allow me to have the life I wanted. And ever since, I have been hooked. Sammy, I'm glad you're here. It's so good to see you. Philip, welcome. Thanks for jumping in. I'm really excited to talk about habit number 3 tonight, which is put first things first. Put first things first. And that, my friends, falls right into the Thrive Principle category of, drumroll please, hashtag respect the now. Respect the now. When we put first things first, what we are doing is acknowledging the importance of what we do today. As my mentor John Maxwell says in his book that is titled the same, Today Matters. What we do today makes a difference. And it makes a difference not just for today, but for the long run. That's why habit number 3 is so powerful. Because when we put first things first today, it has long term impact and we get long term positive results. And who doesn't want long term positive results? I do. I know you do. That's why you're here. And I can't go any further without thanking Thumb Roast Coffee for sponsoring Sunday Night Live. Thank you, Thumb Roast Coffee, for providing me the delicious drink that I have every morning as I spend my quiet time, my time in prayer, my time in meditation, and my cup of thumb roast. They all go together and it's amazing. So thank you for that. And thank you for sponsoring our ability to learn about principles and my ability to share these principles with more and more people. So I appreciate so much about Thumb Roast Coffee. And I encourage you, if you're a coffee drinker or you know a coffee lover, go to thumbroastcoffee.com and order some coffee online. It will arrive to you freshly roasted. It will smell so good you won't even believe it. It's so good. And you can use the coupon code THRIVE to get 15% off. Thumbroastcoffee.com. Put a few packs in your cart. Go to checkout and make sure you put in THRIVE in the checkout coupon code section, and you will get zip 15% off of your order just like that. Thank you, Thumb Roast Coffee, for doing that for Sunday Night Live viewers, for Thrive and Change listeners, and for doing it for me. I appreciate it. I love my Thumb Roast Coffee, and I love that Thumb Roast Coffee is committed to helping people love themselves and love others. And this is one of the ways they do it. So Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Oh, yep, Philip's got it written down for us. First things first. All right, so it's coming up on the holidays, right? We're coming up on Thanksgiving, and then just a few short weeks after is Christmas. I am one of those people who enjoys being grateful every day. And I particularly enjoy being grateful during November. I feel like it's a great time to just really dig deep and be intentional about that gratitude. But I am also a person who believes that I can be grateful and I can also be cheerful and happy and Christmassy at the same time. So maybe you're one of those people who doesn't decorate early for Christmas. Maybe you wait till the day after Thanksgiving. I I start early, you guys, because I like to decorate and I love to enjoy it. And it's a lot of work. And so I want to get some mileage out of it before New Year's Day, because for some reason, when New Year's Day hits, I'm over it. Anybody else over it? Once New Year's hits, it's like, oh, I'm sick of Christmas. Let's get on with life, right? It's time. So I have over time come to understand that it is very important for me when I'm doing my Christmas decorating to put first things first. I had one Christmas where I spent a lot of time hanging up some wreaths and things outside. I put a lot of lights on bushes outside. I rearranged some things inside, some furniture. I had a lot of things going. And as time went on, I was getting so wrapped up in the details of these fun new projects that I was doing that I kept putting off what I came to realize was one of the first things first aspects of Christmas, and that was my Christmas tree. So I found myself trying to get a Christmas tree up just a few days before Christmas, feeling pressured, not enjoying it, kicking myself because I'd spent so much time on little details of things that didn't matter that I didn't leave time to do the thing that mattered most when it came to my Christmas decorating, and that is my Christmas tree. You may have different things. Maybe your special thing isn't a Christmas tree at all. But haven't you been there? Haven't you been there when you put so much energy into doing the little things that you forgot the big things? I'm chuckling. I'm chuckling because one of our live stream leadership participants shared the story of how this past weekend, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, maybe, they had family pictures, and at the very last minute she remembered that her children needed new shoes, and so she's scrambling to get everybody ready for these family pictures, and she's trying to go buy shoes at the same time. And I've been there. You've been there. It is very easy to get caught up in the day to day and forget to put the first things first. Kelly, I'm glad you're here. Oh, I'm so glad you're able to watch live. It's great to see you. So let's explore this idea of putting first things first. The first thing that I want to kind of bring out about this topic is, what are the first things? What are the important things? Because when you can determine in your life what things are important, everything else becomes easier to measure. It becomes much easier to know what choice we need to make when we know what has priority in our lives. To put first things first in our lives, we have to understand what's important to us. You have to understand what is important to you. And that's where those first two habits come in that we talked about. And if you haven't heard them, check them out. It is really important for us to understand that we are powerful, that we are the ones who are making choices for our lives, whether we choose to let somebody else direct it and boss us around and tell us what to do, or we choose to own it, be a steward of it, grow into it. And then we also are the ones who create our realities. we begin with the end in mind. And if we do not choose our end carefully, we will begin on a path that takes us somewhere we didn't want to go. Understanding that, really getting a good grip on the fact that we are powerful, allows us to sort of sink into the truth of this third habit, which is putting first things first. When I know that I'm powerful and I'm a steward of what God's given me, I'm a steward of the gifts, the talents, the abilities that He's given me. I'm a steward of the resources that I have, and that it's my job. So that's habit one. Habit two is it's my responsibility, my privilege to be able to choose where I want to take my ship. Where do I want to go? And when I can trust those two things, that I know where I'm going and I know that I'm powerful and it's my privilege and responsibility to be able to choose what I do and how I get there. I get to choose who I want to be, not just what I want to do. When you are secure in those things, habit number three becomes much clearer. Does that make sense? Habit number three becomes much clearer to put first things first when we know who we are, what kind of character we want to have, and where we want to go. Now we can make some decisions about what are priorities. And I love this chapter in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is deep and it's intense. And I am not going to take a deep dive into it. I'm just going to kind of brush on the things that I feel like you and I can benefit most from when we're thinking about change in our lives. And I want to give us just something to chew on. But I also want to offer you this. We're going to, for the next little while, talk about what we need to do about putting first things first. But I was preparing a video, a short video for the participants of Livestream Leadership that highlights what Stephen Covey calls the time management matrix. I prefer to call it the self-management matrix, which I'll get to in a minute. But it is a great tool that helps you decide how to actually put first things first into focus. If that is something that you would love, right now, drop it in the comments. Yes, I would love to be able to see that video, and I'll make sure that I send you a Facebook message and I'll give you a way to see it so that you can learn the things that we're talking about in Livestream Leadership. So I'd love to share that with you. So if that's something you'd be interested in, you want a short video that talks about the how of putting first things first, not just why it's important, let me know in the comments. Shoot me a Facebook message, or just say, I want that video in the comments. I'll make sure that you get a copy. All right. So here's the thing about putting first things first. Stephen Covey talks about 4 categories. And the first category that he talks about are things that are urgent and important. Urgent and important. Those are the crises. Those are the crises moments. Those are the heart attacks. Those are the major life changes that come out of nowhere and smack us. They're the things we maybe didn't expect, or the things that we can't change. As sad as it is, each one of us, we're going to come to the end of our life, right? That's just the truth of it. I'm looking forward to celebrating every one of you. I want to celebrate your 110th birthday with every one of you. That's what I'm looking forward to doing. So I'm not thinking it's anytime soon. But it is very important that we understand that not every crisis that comes our way is a crisis that we couldn't avoid. So Kelly says, I'm lucky that my brain functions in a way that I can easily prioritize things. Not always, but usually. That's good, Kelly. That's really good, because then this habit is going to be something, as you look for new ways to apply it, it's going to feel natural to you because you are already in a habit of prioritizing. I encourage you, though, to look at your life, where you're at, who you are right now, and say, okay, how can I apply this in a way that's going to allow me to grow in that area? If you're strong there, that is great. And then how do you grow in that area? And each of us are in the same boat. I invite each of you to do that same thing. How can I apply this? So things that are urgent and important are the things that we have to deal with right away, or else really, really terrible things happen. A fire is an urgent thing. A fire is an urgent thing, right? Yeah, if you don't take care of a fire, it's going to get ugly things happen, right? So that's urgent and it's important. So there's an example of something that's urgent and important, has to be done. Somebody's having, critical health issues. You call an ambulance, right? It's urgent and it's important. That's one category. Another category is something that is important, but it's not urgent. So you've got something that's important and it's urgent, a house on fire. You've got another category of things in your life that are important but not urgent. What would be something that is important but it's not necessarily urgent? You don't necessarily have to do something about it right this minute or the police will come. How about your health, right? Your health is an important thing that may not be urgent right now. Relationships. Here's what's important to know when we're thinking about putting first things first. That category of things that are not urgent, but they are important is where we really, really put our energy when we're putting first things first. When we're being mindful of the things that are important, but they're not necessarily urgent, we save ourselves a whole lot of trouble. Because the things that are not urgent, but that are important, if we do not attend to them, become urgent. And the more we ignore the things that are important, but not urgent, the more time we have to spend putting out fires. We have a little health issue and we ignore it. It's important, but it's not urgent right now. I can get by. I can get by. I did a 5K once in my life, one 5K, and I wasn't racing. I was just doing it for fun. Did this 5K, and kind of early in the 5K, I realized that my toe hurt a little bit, but I ignored it because I was having a good time. I was walking and kind of running with a friend. It was great, but I just didn't want to stop, right? I didn't want to stop. And so I kept going. And then eventually I sort of didn't notice it anymore. And then when I sat down at the end of the race and took off my shoe, I had destroyed my toe. I couldn't walk on it right for days. It was terrible. I had taken something that was important but not urgent, my toe hurting, and I had ignored it until it became important and urgent. And I had to do something about it. And it caused me to limp for many days. And I couldn't wear all the shoes I wanted to wear. And I almost lost a toenail. It was ugly, people, but it didn't have to be ugly. But I ignored something that was important, but it wasn't urgent. As we lean into the Thrive principle of respect the now, it is really important for us to understand that my now, when I invest my now into taking care of things that are important but not urgent, it saves me time so that I can deal with the things that are important and urgent, the things I can't control. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So I worked in consumer affairs for many years, and I was the manager. So those of you who have been a manager know what happens when somebody has an issue that can't be resolved, right? It just the person who first tried to help them couldn't make it work, and so they send them up there to their supervisor, and then the supervisor couldn't help them, and so they sent it up to their boss, and then their boss couldn't help them, so they shifted them to consumer affairs, and then the hierarchy. So I was at the top of the consumer affairs hierarchy. And so the customers that had the biggest problems ended up talking to me. And this is what I saw over and over and over. People did not take care of the important when it wasn't urgent. And so it ended up in the important and urgent category. And there were tears and there was sadness. And I'll give you an example. There was a lady who had not paid her house payment. And she had not paid it for, I think it was about 90 days. And she got down to where she had one day to pay her house payment, one day. And so she came, I worked at the postal service. She came to the postal service and she mailed her house payment and she used overnight mail and it didn't make it. We messed up. We dropped the ball. She was relying on us to get it that last little bit and we dropped the ball. And it broke my heart because people, I couldn't change that. The ball got dropped at the last minute and she lost her house potentially. I hope she was able to find a solution, but they weren't hearing her reason, if you will. She had 90 days to take care of something very important. And because she waited to the last minute, it shifted immediately into the urgent and important category. And then she had no wiggle room. And she didn't have any opportunity for a problem to come up or for something to go wrong. And we dropped the ball and it didn't make it. And she had a whole nother mess, a whole nother mess. And if she could have just mailed it 2 days before, or 3 days before, or a month before, she would have avoided all of the sadness, the misery, the angst, the anxiety, because she had let it move into urgent and important. I have done this. You have probably done this. I thank God for automatic payment for our utilities because before I had automatic payment for the utilities, I was constantly forgetting to pay them. And so I would get the reminder notice in the mail and go, oh my gosh, I've got to pay the electric bill. And I'd send it off. And I was constantly reacting to my environment because I was not taking care of the important things first. When we don't take care of the important things before they become urgent, a lot of things happen all at once. We lose time. It costs us. It costs us in several ways. Let's talk about the ways it costs us. When we don't put first things first, what does it cost us? If we don't put our utility bills and treat them as important, if we don't put them in that category of important and not urgent, what happens when they flip into urgent and important? What happens when they go from being not urgent to urgent? A lot of times there's a fee attached, right? A lot of times you have to take care of a crisis and you don't get to schedule a crisis. Like you've got 12 hours, you better get things done. When we let things that should be first fall to the bottom of the pile and we wait until they become urgent, we cost ourselves money often, we cost ourselves time, we cost ourselves peace of mind. This is strong stuff. It is strong stuff, but it is crucial for your peace of mind. Put first things first. What is important? This is a way that you can define what is important. What is important are the things that contribute to a positive result in your life. They're not necessarily the things that are on fire. They're not necessarily the things that are screaming for your attention. First things first means the things that contribute to my peace of mind, that contribute to getting me to where I know I want to go, the things that align with what I value and what are important. Those are the things that I'm going to make sure I do first. I'm going to make sure they get the best of my time, they get the best of my attention, they get the best of my finances. The important things. Get it first. Whew. It is so tempting. It is so distracting when the urgent is constantly waving. And if you decide to take advantage of my offer to share that video, you'll learn a little bit more about the other categories that we can borrow from or just actually take from to make sure that we've got enough time to do first things first. Think about the most successful person you know. Think about the most successful person you know. I'm thinking of famous people like Oprah Winfrey, the President of the United States, uh, the CEO of Apple or Microsoft. They have the same amount of time in their day as you have. Think about that. When you feel pressed for time, when you feel like I'm at my wit's end, I'm in crisis mode, it's just one thing after another. When you're feeling that way, I want you to remind yourself that you have the same amount of time that everybody else in the world has. It's one of the things that we all get the same amount of every day. And every day, at the end of the day, it's gone. And we get new every morning and every night it's gone. We have time. And if we want to really thrive in the midst of change, if we want to really be in charge of where we're going, to actually navigate our lifeboat toward our dream, it is so critical that we understand that we can use our time to do the important things, the things that will have lasting impact and a lasting positive result. So what are you guys thinking? What's being stirred up for you? What I'm going to ask you a question, and you don't necessarily have to answer it in the comments because it may take you some thought, but I am serious about this question. What one thing, just one, what one thing, if you were to start doing it, would have the biggest positive impact on your life? What one thing, if you were to start doing it, would have the biggest positive impact on your life? As you know, I'm a woman of faith, and prayer is a significant part of my life. And for many years, I would drive to work. I had a long commute. I had an hour each way. Sometimes it was more. So that was the only time that I could guarantee that I would be alone because I had children at home and a husband. And so I had a lot going on at the house. We had 3 kids. It was busy. So I always knew that I would be by myself in my car. And so my commute became a time for me to pray and be quiet, to listen, to meditate, to just be silent. A lot of times I didn't listen to the radio or anything. I just was quiet. It sounded so good. Those of you who have busy households know what I mean, right? It's like, whoo, boy, this quiet feels good. So I was on my commute praying. And I'll use the scare quotes there because I was praying. I had some situations in my life that were worrying me. They were causing me great concern. They were distracting me. There were some crises that were popping up because of them. And I was praying to and from work. And then one day I realized I wasn't praying. I was worrying. I was fretting. I wasn't praying. I was getting more worked up. I wasn't giving it to God and saying, God, please handle this. I was getting more and more worked up about it. And then I have no other way to describe it except for to say this. I heard from God. It wasn't a voice that sounded like it came from outside of me, but it was a voice that I heard within me, and it was strong and it was clear, and it was a statement that rocked my world. If you believed prayer worked, God said, you'd do it more. What? You guys, to this day, I'm so grateful for that revelation, but I am also humbled by it because it is the truth. I said with my mouth, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you to people all the time saying that I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. But then I didn't. I didn't. I didn't put first things first. I didn't make sure that I was doing what I knew was the right thing. I allowed myself by distraction to start doing things that didn't help at all. Worrying, fretting, getting upset, working myself up over situations that were not in my control. First things first for me mean that if I have a concern or a worry, I have to make time to give that to God, and I have to do it in a genuine way. First things first for me mean that I have to, every morning when I get up and I'm drinking my thumb roast coffee, I have to take that deep breath and settle myself and determine this is how I'm going to approach my day. If I do that, the important things do not become urgent. I find that I have time to do the things that really matter because during that time, I am able to sort out what's important and what isn't, what can wait and what needs to happen, what I thought was important that might not be anymore, what became important without me realizing it. Your day may be different. You may or may not be a person of prayer, but I want you to know this because this is a universal truth. There are things that for you, if you do them, everything else becomes easier. Find those things. Find those things and put them first. Because when you put those things first, everything else that you do becomes easier. If you would love to have a video that I'll be sharing with my live stream leadership people, if you'd love to see that video and learn how do you actually make that adjustment, just drop it in the comments. I am happy to make sure you get a copy so that you've got a little bit more of an in-depth tool to use that will help you to actually put first things first. So let's see. I don't know if it's just that our comments here are freezing up, or maybe you guys are just thinking, and that's okay. But I do want you to know I'm glad you were here. I appreciate you spending your time listening to me, and I don't take it lightly. You have made Sunday Night Live a priority. And that's, I believe, a really, really good choice. It tells me that you're moving in the right direction. With that, I want to thank you. Thank you for putting the time in so that you can grow and change. Thank you for the trust you put in me. Thank you for the impact you're having on your world. And with that, I love you all. Goodbye.